Pigeons 420. Mr. Grow It. And Rob from Cannabis Lifestyle TV. From the Stash Podcast.
From the Stash Podcast, it's your boy Rob from Cannabis Lifestyle TV, Pigeons 420, and Mr. Grow It. What up, boys?
What's going on, gentlemen? How you guys doing today?
Got a little
Good
weed
to see
in
you
the
guys.
mouth, you know.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm feeling really well. Another episode, another chance to talk something passionate. Yeah,
This is a good episode.
Another
This is a
chance
good
to talk in
topic this
general.
week.
I know,
I feel like
dude.
this is going to be one that a lot of people can use kind of in their own repertoire, something that they can refer to and something to work towards. What are we talking about today, Chris?
Oh, you're asking me to introduce the topic? Usually it's Rob. Wow, okay.
I know, let's change it up. Change it up, bro.
Switch it up, all right.
Chris,
Get your notes.
So I get this.
Where's your notes, Chris? Sorry.
Me?
So we get this question a lot. It is really, how do you get into the industry here? And when we're talking about industry, we're talking about cannabis industry, 420 industry, whatever you want to call it. Oftentimes I'll get people hit me up asking me, how do they get into it? Maybe they're working a regular 9-to-5 job now that they hate, and they're really passionate about cannabis in a variety of different ways, whether it be the plant or consuming or whatever. But they don't really know how to get into the industry, right, and actually make money from it. So that's what we're going to really talk about today, is different ways that you can potentially do that. So
Yeah, and you know, it's a lot easier than a lot of people think. It's like, well, I got to be like Rob and Mr. Grow It Pigeons. It's like, yeah, I guess if you want to be a content creator, that's an avenue. But this is just one niche, you know.
Just one.
That's all it comes down to is we happen to make content, which, trust me, if you're thinking about getting started in it, watch a video, YouTube
Right.
versus content creators here, because it's not the best, I will say that. But
We never want to discourage anyone.
No.
Just know what you're getting yourself into.
it's definitely harder than other things, you know. Like, I shout out to the homegirl Jamie. She has a company that she partnered with a while back, Sensi Magazine. It was Cannabis Connection, now it's Sensi Connect, and it really opened my eyes going into some of these meetings, and especially, you know, we're doing virtual ones with the old Rona around, and seeing these people who are like, you know, average, you know, suit and tie type people that I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, oh, I'm an attorney, or I'm an accountant, or I do, you know, I'm a landscaping designer, or this and that. I'm like, oh, what? For cannabis, though. I'm like,
For
oh,
cannabis.
what? And the niche-specific side of things, I like niche better, but the niche-specific side, there's riches in the niches. And you see somebody who's a jack of all trades, a master of none. It's like, well, I work with this person, that person, this person. When I did marketing, and my main, you know, job, I guess, is entrepreneur still, but my main thing was just marketing for clients. I took on any business that needed a website, that needed marketing, that needed this or that. And I'll tell you one thing is, I was nowhere near as good as the competitor who was all they did is dealt with like auto companies, or all they dealt with was real estate agents, because for them, they know exactly what that industry needs, how to serve them, and how to be the best for that client. Now, if you're a cannabis specific attorney, you're probably going to know the laws pretty well. You know, you're probably going to know all the details about it. Same if you're an accountant, you're probably going to know a little bit about how, well, we're going to have to get this cash on the up and up. We're going to have to do this or that. Like,
Things you could claim and what you can't claim and what can
Exactly.
go towards your taxes and where do you write things off, and absolutely.
exactly.
And-
So it's like, how do you get in it though? You just all of a sudden throw a fucking pot leaf on your name, and all of a sudden now you're legit. Like,
That's it. Actually, that's how you do it.
That's
If you
it.
Surf Twitter.
Episode's
all
over.
you have to do is you have to just put a seed in the plant or in the ground, and you're an expert.
it's
As
true.
long as you got a blue check mark, you're good. No,
That's
the
true.
reality is that a little facetious, but there's no better time than now than to get into the cannabis industry. You know, I think we're fortunate enough that we kind of got into this position years ago. You know, where things were we were before the legalization movement, if you will. Canada went legal 2018. I'd already been posting videos on the internet for 3 years before that. You know, so it's like I definitely had my foot in the door before, and I think we can say the same for you two as well. But still, plenty of opportunity for people that want to get into the industry now. There's massive gardens, warehouses that are starting up. There's grow stores that are starting up. There's people that need trimmers. Hell, there's Cannabis University now. You can go to college, get a degree in cannabis, and then somehow apply it to somewhere. You know, there will become a need for those courses, but now more than ever would be a time to get into the industry, because I can tell you, having this as my 9-to-5 was one of the best decisions I ever made, and
Oh, hey, fucking amen
I
to
would
that.
encourage other people to follow your passion, follow your dreams. If whether you consume cannabis, whether you grow cannabis, whether you sell cannabis, there's a market. There's a market for you, right? So get into that. If you're a consumer, why not consider becoming a connoisseur or a tester of sorts, if you will? They're definitely needed. You're growing, might need a master grower. There's tons of avenues to enter into in the industry.
Yeah,
So
I remember when
in Nevada, it's probably different for you. You're just popping in Nevada. It's our little small town boys. It's like over here, we, fucking jobs here in the industry. Nevada's probably a little different, I'd assume.
Yeah, so when I first tried to get into it, right, so for those that don't know, I worked at Amazon.com for about 8 years. So corporate job, kind of started at the ground level, worked my way up. Was so stressed out there, definitely wanted to leave, and so I ended up leaving at the end of 2015. 2016 is when I knew I wanted to get into the cannabis industry. I'm like, it's legal. Like, how do I get into it? So one of the first things I did was I looked online, right? So looking online, trying to find out if there are any jobs locally. I think there are actually kind of like monster.com is like a job specific where people can post jobs. I think there's like Indeed. There's ones for 420 jobs specifically. So I kind of looked there. It was weird. There's like a lot of writers that were needed. There were local trimmers, which is kind of what I wanted, which I'm kind of aiming towards right now. Is I ended up finding a training university, kind of a local training area where it would teach you how to trim. It would teach you cooking. There's all these different courses you can take, and they actually kind of set you up with job placement as well. So after you go through their course, now you're in the pool for job placement. And I think the number one job that kind of you could get out of that was trimming. So he briefly mentioned trimming.
Imagine that. I got a job for trim. I got a job for someone too. Come on over.
So that's kind of like the ground level. I feel like is you start out at trimming. So if you want to just kind of get your feet wet in there, maybe go through a trimming course locally. Hopefully they have one in your area. Trimming course. Hopefully they do job placement or at least apply to all these different places for job placement. And then you kind of get in there as a trimmer. Maybe you're a packager, which is another kind of low level job, and then potentially work your way up into management. Entry level, there you go.
It's nicer.
Sorry.
It's like cheap or affordable, you know what I'm saying? Like affordable just feels better. Yeah, economical. When you say it's cheap, you're like, fuck you. Yeah.
Entry level jobs, now good
perfect,
call, yeah.
Perfect example.
That's the way to kind of get in there to start, I think, and then kind of working your way up. So that's just one avenue to kind of get in there, in my opinion, kind of my experience at least.
It's comparable to like the bud tender, So prime example, if you've been working retail for a long time, you have a great resume for that. If you've been growing your own bud and you can show that, if you've been documenting it, let's say, and you have decided to be that content creator, 9 times out of 10, that's a better resume when you go in to show somebody than even that little training university for trimming. You're like, dude, look at my bud. Like, I've been doing this for years. I'm a home grower, cultivator. Like, I'm really about it. Like, commercial, I get you guys have your restrictions, but I'm growing that fucking dank, boss. I got a buddy who just recently went from doing construction work to now he's trimming. It's labor, He's working all fucking day. He's trimming hard, but it's not a skill set that he has on his resume, but then his Instagram, that happened to be his fucking resume when he's like, here's all I've done. And he might be end up being in their extraction area because they see how good he does extracts. So
well, that's no different. That's a portfolio. Exactly. That is your work in a collection for others to view. That's a portfolio. And whether it's your Instagram, whether it's your Facebook, whether it's a YouTube channel, whether it's just pictures, you've documented your grows, you've taken good pictures, this is the new resume, because where else are you going to get this experience from? You can't, more and more we're kind of hearing that, as time goes on, you're going to have master growers go from one outfit to another outfit and so on and so forth. But the reality is that generally speaking, people won't have a resume in the cannabis industry. It's going to require you to be creative with yourself. What are you good at? What are some of your strengths? What are your weaknesses? You got to know these things in order to become a better person and address them, and then apply that to the cannabis industry. Like you kind of mentioned bud tender, selling. If you are passionate about cannabis, what a better place to put yourself in than behind the counter of a bunch of weed, These are the kind of people that I would like at my dispensary. Someone's passionate, someone who knows their shit, not just knows their shit, but is willing to share it and then listen to the consumer too, because the consumer's needs are important, very important. And just because you know something doesn't mean it's going to be best for them. And there are a ton of people, that are very passionate about it that I think would make great bud tenders. And if you tip your bartender, you should be tipping your bud tender.
Trey does every time. Trey will bring his old pre-rolls and give it to the fucking bud tender. I'm like, you dirty dog. He might get that fucking want to leave
Can't wait for
their
him
job.
to come see me.
Yeah. But it's cool, you know?
Yeah. And so bud tender, what other roles are there? Delivery driver, right? So I have a friend who's a delivery driver. That's another thing. If you're not really that people person type, and you want to be in the actual dispensary talking to people as a bud tender, you could be a delivery driver. I know people who have started out as bud tenders, work their way up into dispensary managers, which are really good paying positions. And if they were a retail manager, outside, it's a little bit easier to get into a dispensary manager position. It's kind of equal in a sense, or it relates a lot in a sense.
Oh, yeah.
Customer service is customer service.
Exactly.
And
right?
management is management.
Yep.
You know, that's what I'm saying. If your resume isn't unique with the stuff we're doing already, then what you're currently doing could really be applied to this industry. You got to think outside the box.
Be creative. Think
or be
outside
attractive, too, because hot chicks get a lot of jobs in this industry. You guys notice that?
Yeah,
I mean, High Times, fucking, you go to the Cannabis Cup, every other booth has some hot chick who knows nothing about the product.
Perfect. These are people that are profiting off their assets, and power to them. Use your mind. Be creative, I got a face for radio, so it's all about the voice for me,
I'm a voice guy.
Use it, right? So, yeah, you use your assets. Think outside the joint and try to make yourself presentable.
I like that. Think outside the bud. That's what we...
Yeah, think outside the bud. I was going to go with think outside the bun.
Yeah, I know. That's,
well, that's a good one, think outside
Bell.
the bud, right? Because another thing was packaging, right? I know people who've gone to the packaging side of things, and all they're selling is jars or bags, right? That blew up once it became legal, right?
Containers.
So, yeah. So I know somebody who does smell-proof bags. And actually, I met him at, which another thing I was going to talk about is networking. You can either network online by talking to different people online and kind of building up, relationships there, or networking in person. So there's actually an event that happens every month. I believe it's the first of the month every month, called Culture and Cannabis in Las Vegas. And there's a bunch of vendors that are there. And I met somebody who makes smell-proof bags. And really just by, walking up to his booth, talking to him about his product and kind of introducing myself, because, he asked, what do you do in the industry? And we had that conversation. We exchanged details. And that could lead something in the future. He actually he was about to learn how to grow. So that kind of,
Nice.
Now I think he watches my videos and so on and so forth. But actually getting to these events, talking to these people that are in the booths, even being open with them and saying, hey, I'm not in the industry now, I want to get into it, any advice for me? Like having those conversations, networking, I think, is a huge avenue.
Man, unbelievably huge.
Yeah, I know when it comes to the cultivation facilities, I applied to a whole bunch of places for cultivation facilities. I thought that's what I wanted to do. And never got any call back, even with my resume and so on and so forth. But has to do with networking. What I was told after the fact was that you have to know somebody. Like,
of course,
friends of friends are the ones that are getting in, because there's not many master growers out there, right? And
that's kind of what I'm saying in terms of you need to be your biggest advocate too, because the resume isn't there. We don't have institutions that are already formalized, and people are like, yeah, I went to Harvard, I studied in Cannabis 404, I was top of my class, and now I'm looking for a career. No, typically a lot of these people are ex whatever, they're ex maybe military, ex construction, ex whatever, and they're just looking for another job, and they don't have that resume. So networking is huge, because these companies are just going to pick people that they think are going to be the best fit for them, and often enough it's people in their closest circle, right? So networking is huge. Get out there, get your name out there.
You got to, man.
Create a logo, you know what I mean? Like,
be a brand. You are your brand
yourself. Yeah.
Well, and that's the key thing.
A great idea.
We met each other via networking, essentially. I mean, just shooting the shit in comment sections, shooting our shot in a DM, like, yo, what up, dude? You want to fuck with me? And now here we are. You know what I'm saying?
Here we are.
But like it's a great thing on the networking side, like I mentioned earlier with Sensi Connect. The Homegirl Jamie was a great idea. It's like BNI, and that's a thing I did for years. It's Business Networking International, I believe, where we meet every single week. We kind of just go over what we do as a business owner or entrepreneur, whatever we do, and then share what we need in our business. Okay, we're looking for clients in this space. Or we're looking for a designer over here that can help with this and this. And in that group, that's your network. They're able to usually help you out. Somebody's like, hey, I know this person, I know this, or that's what I do, or I've got somebody who's interested in your kind of service. Here's their information. Same kind of concept, except this is 420 specific. So if you can get into something like that, that's huge, because you're going to be able to get your foot in the door so much faster just based on where you're at and your personality, more than even your skill set and your resume. Then you could build from that. So it's about, your network is your net worth. It truly is. And if you could build out that network a lot more, you're going to have a lot larger, opportunities in this industry, because it's not easy doing it by yourself. Teamwork makes that fucking dream work.
It is not. And there's, in this day and age, in 2021, there's no reason to do it by yourself.
Hell no.
There's so many people that have very similar mindsets, or at least very similar passions. I found two of them with you guys. I was on a warpath, not a warpath, but on a mission. Between you guys, it's because it's like, had I not found you guys, I'd still be on a well-focused, very narrow-minded path of Pigeons 420. But allowing myself to network, find other creators that are very passionate about this as much as I am, that want to create, that want to give back more and more, made me to want to do the same thing more and more and more. And then look at this. We started in October, guys. November, December, January, February, March, April. We're 6 months in. And think of what we've already done, So, and we're not even half a year. We're just coming in half a year, So it's like big things popping.
Big shit popping over here. Wait until this Rona's gone, man. That's where the networking begins. And again, that's what sucks too. Is let's say you want to get in this industry right now, but you're like, well, how do I do it? I'm a construction worker, or I do events. Like Trey, prime example. Trey is a culinary expert. He went to school for culinary, so he's doing these in-person events, usually Elevated Social. Shout out to the fucking killer chef. He's the best I know, hands down. But we can't link up like that. We can't have it that bar. We can't do this and that. We're in Michigan, you know what I'm saying? And we've got our corona cases go up and down and up and down. Either way, it's not a good look, regardless of a person's opinion on it. And so it's tough. He had to pivot completely. So now he's just like a regular restaurant. He's a takeout guy. He's doing these takeout events. Profit margin actually is a little bit better on that. Had he not have gotten innovative and changed, he'd be screwed. So you got somebody who might be like, well, fuck, I want to get in this industry, but what I do, I can't do right now. I'm not able to do it.
That's a horrible mindset. That's a horrible mindset.
You got to change it. The homegirl Jamie is doing all her events for Sensi Connect. They're doing them all online, and there's a higher turnout, because you got the introverts who don't want to go anywhere. Who are like, fuck it.
Don't even have to turn their camera on. Exactly. They hide behind that little symbol or whatever.
Just the face.
Yep. And like I said at the top, it's like there is not a better time to get into the industry than right now. Corona aside, if you're not Corona was the best thing that happened to my business, believe it or not, because it allowed me to double down. It allowed me to stay focused. I didn't have to work because, I was out of work. I was put out of job, and then because of that, I only had one thing to do, because that's all I had. And then now I was able to. I didn't have to return to work because of this. So this is the time. Find something you're passionate about. Double down on it. Whether it's there's a lot of bloggers out there that just document their progress on the internet somewhere. Shout out to you guys. You guys would make great article. Great writers, you know what I mean?
You'd make great
reviewers, great reviewers of strains, of products, of methods and practices and challenges and mistakes, and use what you have already to your benefit and exploit it.
Well, and it's like, when you're that person, how do you get out there? Fucking start and do it now.
And there are also some more difficult routes, right? So we talked about some that arguably, I guess, a little bit on the easier side. Some might say, oh, well, those are difficult to get into, but there are even more difficult routes, right? So one of them is launching a product, creating a product, right? That's going to entail a lot. So if you have an idea for a particular product, just know what it all consists of. I actually had planned to launch a product, and there's just so much work to it that I ended up backing out of it. But really, you got to kind of have money to make money, right? So say you want to
It's the truth.
say you realize you need $50,000 to start, right? Because you need to buy the products to begin with, right? So, do you have that in the bank, or do you need to get a loan out? If you need to get a loan out, well, it's a cannabis industry, so you have probably less chances of getting a loan, or it'll be a higher interest rate. So you've got those type of challenges. You've got challenges if you're creating a product. Well, now you need to link up with a manufacturer. You need to have, AutoCAD drawings potentially. That's going to cost money. Now, a manufacturer could talk with you about it. If you don't have it patented, then they could steal your idea, right? So you got to get it patented before you actually go through all the other stuff. So it can be jumping through hoops for sure. But, launching a product is definitely something that is possible. It's something that's out there. I don't really recommend it unless you've got the capital and you've got the idea and you have the connections to do those AutoCAD drawings and stuff like that. But that is an avenue, and I figure that's worthy of talking about.
Yep, absolutely. And good products will speak for themselves. With the amount of time, effort, and energy you put into bringing a product to market, it could totally be worth it. It could totally be worth it. Struggles ahead, but yeah, absolutely. If you're an inventor, I believe we've got an episode to come of things that we want to see in the cannabis industry. There are some items out there that either are to be invented, need to be invented, or should be invented. That's a good point. Products are a must. Again, it's a very early industry here, and a lot of us are still using, makeshift equipment that we created on our own. We're using equipment that was designed for other purposes, products are definitely a good idea.
Well, and like you look at things like I said earlier, you need to know the basics first. Be an inventor first. Know the basics of creating a fucking product first. Don't say, I've never created a product. I've never been an entrepreneur. I've never ran a business, but I'm going to start winning the toughest one. Because it really is, because you can't do the normal things you could in a regular business when it comes down to the financial side of things, when it comes down to marketing or advertising, branding, how you're going to promote it, distribution in general. Totally different. I mean, restrictions even too on where the product is going to be placed. You got California that, in Colorado even, depending on what you have in the product, if you want to be, with your Mac sauce and be proprietary, ain't going to fly there. Cannabis is very different. And I think that's where, if you don't have the knowledge first for product development or business in general, that's a big one to jump into. I'm glad you saved that towards the end side here, because I was going to mention that, being an inventor in this industry, you're almost better off to partner with a company that already does licensing or things like that, because it's just a lot harder to get into it and to explode, other than maybe selling direct and eating up that shipping costs and having it coming out of your fucking garage and working with some influencers. Because I know companies who've been doing that and it's been working okay, but they still have a regular 9-to-5. They might eventually transition out of it, but man, my anxiety level alone right now is too high. I could not add that shit to it. I'd be done. 29 with a heart attack.
I'm not smart enough for that. I'll leave that for someone else.
Yeah.
I think another one that's difficult to get into, and we touched upon it in the beginning, and I think the people listening are going to want to hear a little bit deeper, which is becoming a content creator or a YouTuber, right? Some people might be watching this and like, oh, I want to do what they do, I want to create videos on it. I consider this one of the more difficult routes to go when you're trying to get into the cannabis industry, right? So you're not going to get paid by YouTube, right? And whenever you show a plant, you get no ad revenue. So that whole monetization, showing ads and stuff like that doesn't exist when you're making gardening videos. Now, you can do a talk show video like I have, right? On my second channel is monetized. I'm fortunate enough to talk about all types of plants, including medicinal.
Of course,
so
you're a smart man. That's why.
Able to monetize there, but people want to see the plants. People want to know how it grows. It's definitely difficult on that avenue. Now you can go after sponsors. That's an avenue, but you need to have a following in order to get to sponsors. You can get affiliates. However, if you don't really have the audience and you're promoting these products to go through an affiliate program, which you get paid off of sales that happen, well, then you don't get any money if you don't make any sales. So if you are going to get into this side of things, content creation or whatever you want to call it, expect to make no money for at least 6 months.
Have a regular job.
If not more.
It has to be a hobby.
You're working for free for a very, very long time until you build up that audience.
Be passionate, man.
You build up can't speak. If
Audience.
you build up
Yep,
that
that's good.
audience.
It's taken me 5 fucking years to say that this is really a business. Now, I've been an entrepreneur for about 7 years, so I was doing marketing stuff for clients. I haven't had a regular 9 to 5 in a while. I've been blessed, but I've been stressed the whole fucking time. And doing this was a big leap where it could have tarnished my business, where we talked about breaking the stigma, where it was like, fuck, should I do this? Is this all in? Because I'm not making that money, you know? So that's why my face wasn't on there for a while, and that's why you just saw the Pigeons chest, you know? I think people underestimate the amount of effort that it does take in your life to be able to create content, for 1, and then put it out there, 2, and then be able to get views and attraction, 3, and then 4, fucking monetize it. It's a hobby. It truly is.
And this is I had an interview earlier in the month.
Yeah, he started working at
last
Walmart.
month. That I had a discussion with a marketer, or with a essentially, I had a conversation that focused on the influence of cannabis, and I made the comment of, if you see somebody in the cannabis industry at the forefront, if you see a face in the cannabis industry, that recognition was not handed to them. You know, the misnomer that we just smoke weed and get paid for it. Although that sounds so beautiful, like, it sounds good, and I like to say it, but the reality is that no one's paying you to smoke weed. There is nobody out there paying you to smoke weed. You have to bring something to the table, and that's the only way. So it doesn't matter who you look at in the cannabis game, whether it's the big actors, the movers and shakers, the tokers, the enjoyers, the growers, the influencer, the marketer, the networker, the tender, you know, the professor. They got there because of sweat, tears, hard work, and determination. There is no other way to get through this industry without that notoriety, and the only way to do that is to build it upon yourself. So yeah, it is a very difficult avenue to take in terms of becoming an influencer, and I hate the word the influencer. Content creator is a better way to put it.
I like that one. It's more sexy.
Because yeah, I started creating content on YouTube in 2016, 2015, but I did not make money until like last year. You know, a year, maybe 2 years ago. But I was able to quit my job 5 months ago, 6 months ago, because of the work that I had put in for the last 5 years before that. You know, so and let's be clear though, I think we would be doing a disservice to our audience and to the people in general if we didn't tell you to not chase your dreams. If you have a passion to create content and to be sitting in a chair like this, do not ever let the words of anyone discourage you, because this industry is full of discouragement. This industry is full of people that'll tell you that you can't do it and how they've done it better. Don't listen. Stay focused, stay determined, and know that no matter what, you can get your shit done if you just put your nose to the grindstone.
That's why I fuck with you, P. It's motivation. And I think that really summarizes it, and I think that, take that one right there and repeat that fucking end clip. Bring that fucking shit back, DJ, because I'm telling you, that's what people need to hear, man. Push it, push it, push it. I've had nothing but doubters my whole life. I still have doubters. Mm-hmm. And I make more money than them. It's like a suck a dick. Hey!
I'd love to know in the comment section
Yeah.
who is just getting into the cannabis industry, and maybe you're in the industry. What advice would you have for people? I don't think we covered everything that needs to be covered, but there's got to be some people out there that are in the industry or getting into the industry that have some tips or advice that they can share with others. So I'd love to see it down in the comment section below.
Please feel free to network in the comments below. You know, don't flaunt.
Ethically, don't
flaunt
fucking
and
be that spam
you know what
or
I mean?
weirdo.
Absolutely meet people in the comments, because you're going to scroll through and see who's in the industry. We have a lot of people viewing from the very similar areas, from Canada and in the U.S. Get together, see what can be done, because this is a great spot for like-minded people to hang out.
Absolutely. And if you're listening to this
like
video,
button.
fucking yeah, of course, like it in your mind. If you're watching it, you should have already liked it. I know we get you too stoned, but please do us a favor, smash that like button. Helps your fellow smoker or grower. Check it out. And as always, it's your boy Rob from CLtv, Pigeons 420, and Mr. Grow It. We'll see y'all next time.
Peace.
Peace.